Now let's talk about how the digital audio workstation is going to be organized. Okay, now in most digital audio workstations, you're going to be looking at a track view as you open your project. Okay, so each track is a different channel on which you can have a recording represented. Let's just pretend we're recording a podcast. Okay, and I'm recording into this one microphone, into one channel, and I want to see it on my digital audio workstation. I would find a track or create a track on my computer, and then I would be sure to map this input. Okay, this is input number 1 on my audio interface, and I want to map that on my DAW to track 1. Once you've mapped your instrument or microphone to a track on your computer, you have another crucial decision to make, and that is whether or not this signal is going to be recorded or displayed in mono or stereo. Now, all of us are very familiar with stereo signals because we all listen on headphones, earbuds, things that have a left and a right speaker. In a lot of music specifically, there's actually a different signal coming out of the left and the right side. Now, it might not be too noticeable, but that's very true for music recordings. The left is not identical to the right. Now, a mono signal, however, takes the left and the right, sums them together, and gives you one signal that's going to be identical on both sides. Why is this important to consider when you're about to record? Well, some recordings that you make, you want them to be identical on both sides. Voice is a perfect example. What if I just want a very clean podcast vocal? I'm just going to put a mono signal in because I just want you to hear my voice straight in front of you. What if you're recording something like a synthesizer, though? Something that might have, kind of in the settings that you've put into it, some effects that are sending different sounds across the stereo spectrum from left to right and all things in between to create a really spacious sound. Well, if you record that in mono, you're going to lose all of that stereo information. So be sure you select stereo in that case if you do want there to be differences between the left and the right in your recording. Once you do that, there's only one thing left to do before we actually get to hit that record button and see our recording displayed on the computer. This is called gain staging, and it's something crucial to the recording process that even intermediate mixers do not take advantage of and do not use. This has to do with setting the input gain knob on your audio interface. If you have that knob turned all the way to the left, you're not going to hear any incoming signal from your microphone or instrument. If you turn it all the way to the right, you're going to get a whole lot of signal from your microphone or instrument. Possibly too much, right? But, definitely too much if you turn it all the way up. And what you're also going to get is you're going to get the introduction of noise. So you can be introducing electrical noise from turning that gain up on your interface. You could also be introducing room noise. As you turn that gain up, think about a bubble around this microphone growing ever larger. Okay, as you turn that gain up, it's capturing more signal. It's able to capture sounds further away. Maybe you start to hear the AC or something in the other room. If you turn the gain up too much, you turn it down enough, you can't as easily hear that AC in the other room. So these are all things to consider when setting that gain knob. Another thing to consider is what we call clipping or distortion of the signal by having it be too loud. Okay, you'll notice on your DAW there's a meter measured in something called decibels. Okay, that is just a measure of volume that we're going to be working in from here on out. Now your digital interface caps at 0 decibels. So once you kind of go into the red on that meter, it's going to clip, it's going to distort on your computer. And that is kind of the clipping threshold for your interface. That's not to say, though, that your other equipment doesn't also have a distortion or clipping threshold associated with it. A lot of audio interfaces actually will start to clip or distort before you reach that 0 decibel mark. So you have to experiment a little bit or read about your interface and microphone to see what kind of dynamic range you can be working in. As a general rule of thumb, you want to set your gain at a point where you can hear all of the information that you're wanting to capture in your room, but not too much to where you're capturing unnecessary information. Okay, now you want to be leaving yourself a lot of editing headroom as well. Okay, so that means don't record like right up next to 0 decibels, because then you're not really giving yourself a lot of room to work with later when you're processing that signal. So as a personal example, when I'm recording voice, I don't like my voice to go past -6 decibels. Okay, that just kind of works for my room because I've come to know this room very well. And as I'm approaching -6 decibels, I'm not running into any clipping or distortion issues, and it's not loud enough to start capturing unwanted noises from the other room or still some of the reverb that I have in this room. Yet I'm still capturing all the richness and the subtlety from my voice. With all that being said, these are the most basic tools that you're going to need to get this job done. Okay, the job of recording something from a real world environment and viewing it and analyzing it on your computer. Are these all of the tools at your disposal? Absolutely not. But if you gain a really good understanding of all the ones that we talked about today, and you continue to listen on to some of the technique and processing episodes later on in this podcast, you're really going to be surprised by the number of possibilities that exist for you now when it comes to taking on a music project.